Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How about you?
All right, I'm good. I'm trying to do a wide page explanation of the conversation that we're talking about.
That sounds interesting. Are you focusing on summarizing all the key points we discussed, or are you looking to expand on certain ideas in depth? Let me know how I can help you bring clarity or structure to your explanation.
All right, so I want to depict it as an analogy story where the players are the founding fathers, their children, the Black community, and how things have evolved to today. I want to highlight the fact that we should take a different approach in resolving racial conflict, understanding that both the children of the founding fathers and Blacks have legitimate concerns about their interests.
That's a powerful approach, using analogy to humanize the complexities of the historical and ongoing racial conflict. Here's a possible structure and narrative flow for your analogy story. I'll sketch it out, and we can refine details or add depth as you like. Title: The Inherited House. In a vast land, there once stood a house built by a group known as the Founding Fathers. These builders, proud and determined, saw the land's potential and laid down its first bricks. They designed each room, every wall, with a specific vision in mind, one that served their own needs and dreams. The house, though built with the sweat of others, was intended to be a fortress for themselves and their descendants. Chapter 1: The Builders and the Legacy. The Founding Fathers were clear in their intentions. This house was their legacy, a stronghold they constructed to reflect their values, beliefs, and interests. But in building this house, they enlisted the labor of those they saw as tools rather than equals, the enslaved Black people. For generations, these enslaved workers toiled, not as guests, but as possessions within the house, barred from rooms, locked out from decisions, and denied the simplest freedoms. As time passed, the builders' children inherited the house. To them, this structure was not only their home, but their birthright, a legacy left by their fathers. They saw themselves as the rightful heirs, tasked with preserving the structure and the privileges that came with it. Chapter 2: The Distant Relatives, the Enslaved and Their Descendants. On the other side, the descendants of those enslaved workers also grew up around the house. To them, the house represented both opportunity and trauma. It was a place of forced labor, but also a place they had, in a way, built themselves. As time moved forward and slavery was abolished, these descendants found themselves seeking a place within the house, a share in the space their ancestors had helped create. They wanted to be seen, not as distant workers or outside hands, but as rightful residents, with rooms and keys of their own. Chapter 3: The Tensions Within, Ownership and Inclusion. Generations later, the house is filled with tension. The descendants of the Founding Fathers, still holding the original blueprints, feel the pressure of protecting their inheritance. They see any change as a threat to the intentions of their forefathers. This house, they argue, was never built for everyone. It was built for us. Meanwhile, the descendants of the enslaved laborers feel they are equally entitled to this house. After all, their ancestors laid the bricks, and their blood, sweat, and tears are in the foundation. To them, true justice means not only being allowed inside, but being given equal standing. Chapter 4: The Attempts to Reconcile. As the years go by, there are multiple attempts to reconcile these differences. Some propose simply expanding the house, adding new rooms and wings to accommodate everyone. But this idea clashes with the Founding Fathers' descendants, who see expansion as diluting their heritage and changing the character of their home. Others suggest sharing existing rooms, creating policies of equality within the space. However, this too creates friction. Old wounds and memories of injustice linger, making coexistence a challenge. The children of the enslaved laborers often feel they're only invited into certain rooms and kept at arm's length from the house's core. Chapter 5. The new approach, healing the foundation. As conflicts continue, a new idea emerges. Perhaps the house needs more than surface-level renovations or expansions. Maybe it's time to revisit the foundation itself, the original intentions, the buried stories, and the unaddressed wounds. This approach suggests that both sides need to understand each other's perspectives, acknowledging the legitimate fears and hopes on both sides. For the children of the Founding Fathers, this means accepting that change doesn't mean erasing their legacy, but evolving it to accommodate others in a way that honors the labor that built it. And for the descendants of the enslaved, it means understanding that while the house was built on inequality, there's a path forward that involves rebuilding, not just claiming.